So it was nerve-wracking to be one of the only people that was kind of going against the grain, if that makes sense. Yeah. Those 2 years that we weren't in school, because obviously classes went online, I feel like I started from scratch. But from that experience, I was like, okay, if this is my first time doing this, and I didn't suck, because if I sucked, I would not have reached the semifinals. But I could be a lot better.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of The Young Guy International, a podcast as a product of the Young Guy Initiative. On this podcast, our mission here is to create a socially connected world by diving deep into different captivating stories and experiences from our different guests. Whether you're a seasoned enthusiast or just someone craving intellectual stimulation, this podcast is here for you. I want to thank all of you for watching the first episode we had with Naomi. I think it was a great episode. I learned lots from her, from her journey, her experience. But this is another week. We have a new episode. But before we get into this episode, Naomi sent me a gift, and I'd like to show it to you. It is from a courtesy of the Darren Bainey blog, which you guys should definitely go check out. It's just www.darrenbainey.com, and I'm just gonna bring in the mugs that you guys have a look. So this is the mug. Thank you, Naomi, DB, obviously Darren Bainey. Great mug. So thank you very much. Right now, obviously, there's nothing inside, but in the future episodes, we will start using it a bit more, because obviously it needs to pay to be featured on on this podcast. Thank you, Joshua. Obviously, this podcast, we couldn't have done it without our partners. The Office of Research at the University of Waterloo, left off by CCAWR here in Kitchener-Waterloo, and obviously Velocity, where we are seated having these different interviews. Now, today, episode 2, I am honored, humbled, and very, very excited to be joined by my friend. A very close friend that I made 2 years ago. We met on campus, because she goes to the University of Waterloo as well. And since then, it's just been this brother sisterhood that has just taken us through our journeys. Unfortunately, she's leaving me this year, and I'll have to be here for another year. But the person I'm talking about is Lowenna Barungi. She's currently studying communication studies and business with a minor in legal studies at UW. Get this as well. She's also a singer, an artist, and we are going to discuss all that in today's interview, from her journey with the arts, her journey from Uganda. She's Ugandan as well, to Canada, and basically her whole experience. So, Lowenna, how are you doing? Welcome.
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for coming. I did this in my first episode with Naomi, sort of like an icebreaker, something that I'm trying to start for all the different episodes that we do. And because it's the Young Guy International and the guests that I bring on are from different parts of the world, I just wanted to ask you I would like it in your mother's language, because I know your father's language is my language as well. So something different, so the audience can get to see just a bit about your other side as well. So any word that you're willing to teach the audience, we'll be happy to hear it.
Okay, so my mother is from 2 different tribes. So she is Mugisu, and she's also Japadola. So I'm going to probably teach you the Lugisu, because that's a little bit easier for me too. But it's pretty easy. So I would say Mulembe, and you would say Mulembe back. So it's kind of like, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, it's just like hello, and then you say hello to, kind of. The translation does not really, it doesn't translate well to English, but it's just like hello to.
Oh, so it's Mulembe.
Mulembe.
Yeah,
you kind of drag it out. My accent might not be that great either, but yeah.
I know. So, to obviously everyone who's watching, Mulembe, to you, Lowenna, Mulembe, and welcome to the Young Guy International. So now that we have broken the ice, we are obviously here. Just going to get to know you. I think that's the essence of the podcast today. Just really trying to get to know you, to share your story with the different people that are watching across the world, and seeing how best from your experiences we can inspire and hopefully help, someone who's watching or the people that are listening as well. And where I'd like to start is where we first met. Okay. I don't know if you remember. Probably do. It's not a long time ago. in 2022
Yes.
when I reached out to you through LinkedIn. I said, hey, you're Ugandan as well, because it was my first time on campus.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to meet people that, look like me as well. So obviously I reached out to Lowenna on LinkedIn, and we met at Claudette Miller Hall
Yes.
in UW.
Yeah.
And that was the first time ever. Obviously, the connection I think was instant. I think we spoke for a while that day.
For a while. It was like 2 hours or more, maybe more.
Yeah, I think it was more.
Yeah, maybe more.
I think for me, I think that was sort of like the start of just a good brother sisterhood. That now we are here, guys. There's definitely been growth. But obviously before me, you had been there for a while. You started in 2019 at UW, and I just wanted to ask what that experience was like, leaving Uganda and coming to Canada as an international student. Completely different country. I don't know if you had been to Canada before that. Nope. So what was that experience like? Because I know
so first off, a lot of my friends who I graduated with from high school, they decided to go to the UK. A number of them. A couple of people are coming to Canada, but because Canada is so big, we used to think at home that, we could just walk over and find somebody. Nope. Nope, Canada is so big. So a couple of people were obviously going to Canada as well, but in completely different either provinces or completely different towns. But a lot of people were going to the UK. And I had applied to the UK, but we kind of decided to go with Waterloo in Canada because, I don't know, just the program I got was a lot more broad and I didn't want to narrow myself down too much. Compared to what I did get in the UK. So I did not want to be separated from like all the people I knew because those were my friends from some of them from kindergarten since we were kids. So it was nerve-wracking to be one of the only people that was kind of going against the grain, if that makes sense. Yeah. But I was excited because I was like, new country, you get to start over. But I was nervous because, again, you have to make friends from scratch. You have to just learn how everything works compared to Uganda, where the systems are completely different. So the journey of actually coming was very rough because my visa was late. I had barely packed. We had wanted to come with both my parents, but being an international student is tough. So
it is.
It could only be me and my mom at the time. So my visa finally came, by God's grace. It just came on the day that I was supposed to fly, the morning of. And then we finally came. And the adjusting process would have been a lot harder, I would say, if I didn't have my aunt and uncle who moved from Uganda many years ago, and they've been living here for a while. Their kids are here. Some of their kids also go to my university as well, our university as well. So they really helped us settle in. They really helped show us the ropes, buy all the things that I need for residence, teach me how to just do normal things that are second nature to people here, but then you have to learn all over again when you're in a new place. So coming was hard, but then once I I don't think I really fully adjusted because it took me a while to make friends. And when I did, it was a bit of a cultural shock because I made friends who are some who are from like South America, some people who are born here, some people who are East Asian, Middle Eastern, and the culture shock was interesting because I had to learn how to like speak in a different way or code switch or do all these things. But it was good because it was my first time actually seeing if I could make friends outside the people that I grew up with. So that was good. Adjusted. The winter will never be nice. It'll never be nice. You enjoy it for one business day and that's it.
That's true.
But then obviously the pandemic came and affected everything. I feel like those 2 years that we weren't in school because obviously classes went online, I feel like I started from scratch. So I left halfway through, or maybe when I was almost done with my first year. 2 years passed and then came back to campus halfway through my third year. Yeah. So it's kind of like being in first year all over again, but with a different title. So yeah, it was challenging because I felt like all the connections I had made just fizzled out because of the pandemic. You don't see people. People went home. I also went home a couple of times. So yeah, I felt like I didn't really have any strong roots here, despite having been here for 3 years, but it wasn't really 3 years. So yeah, it was an adjustment. And I can only say that maybe last year is the first time where I've felt like I actually have roots in the ground. So yeah, maybe my experience is different from other people's, but hey.
That's true. And on that point of your aunt and uncle helping you, I think many international students underestimate the power of family in a different country. Because even for me, it's the same thing. Like without the aunt and uncle that I'm staying with now, things would be relatively tough, obviously financially, but also psychologically, because you're in a different place and you have to navigate through all these different things.
Exactly.
Not knowing anything. What obviously you came, sort of settled in, then pandemic hit, and you mentioned this, you said the systems in Uganda were different from the systems here. But what was one thing that sort of surprised you or shocked you that you didn't expect or that you were expecting when you came to Canada?
I think just the ease I wouldn't call it ease, because it takes a lot of to get what you need here, it takes a lot of preparation. Like you need to apply for things however many months in advance. You need to have all your documentation. You need to have all these things. But the difference is I feel like there is somewhat of a guarantee at the end that you will get what you need if you do things, if you follow the procedure, that kind of thing. Whereas in Uganda, sometimes it can be a little different. Like things are more spontaneous. Sometimes you'll do everything right and you'll still not get what you need. Sometimes you might just get lucky and get whatever you applied for earlier than you hoped. So I think just the way things are streamlined is a lot more organized. And I guess I expected it, but it was really shocking to see, like, and I've always been organized since I was a kid. So I think in some ways this society is helpful for me because I can plan more easily. Like in Uganda, you want it to be somewhere that is maybe like 20 minutes away from your house, but you have to leave an hour before. Here, the bus will be on time. So you can just leave 20 minutes before. So I think, just the way it's organized is different, and in some ways it's good because it's kind of the life that I like, the organization of it, but at the same time it's different, so it's an adjustment too.
That's true. And this is a question that might take us just away just for a bit, but because you said something about obviously how things here are sort of more organized, that's the simplest way to put it, and then in Uganda we are getting there. How do you as Lowenna think that we can implement some of the systems done here for our people back there? Like what do you think, or what do you see is something that we can adopt to?
That's a good question. I don't know that there's anything that you can just lift from here and copy and paste it back home, because the culture is completely different, the values are completely different. So any best practice that you pick from here would have to be tailored and changed and reworked to suit people at home. I don't know. I think it's a challenge. It's a challenge because, like, if you were to say something like maybe applying for a passport or applying for your national ID at home, that the system here is completely different. Where like here, most things are virtual or online. So you apply online and you get something in the mail in a couple of weeks. But in Uganda, a lot of the systems are like physical, where you have to fill out documents physically. So, and also sometimes the capabilities of our online systems are not as developed, and maybe there's not as many people to man them and to process things faster. So I think all of that needs to be taken into account before you can even start to say, okay, what can we, but yeah, maybe digitization, a lot of digitization would help. But again, also that would take a while because you would need to improve people's literacy rates. You'd need to teach people how to use these things, the systems that require, the systems that you'd require to digitize things. So I think,
we'll get there.
We'll get there. Yeah.
We'll get there. That's the most important thing. Okay, that's just sort of, I wanted to pick your brain on how you think, because obviously as international students, in as much as we're here doing our thing, we still need to be able to take some of the lessons that we have learned and then implement them in one way or the other back home. Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, that will always be home.
Yeah, and also like because we're the ones here studying and we've been here for the longest time, to prevent things like brain drain and to prevent just the continual taking of resources and then not giving back. We're the ones who kind of have to be the ones that go back and not put a stop to anything, but just continue things and help.
Of where the country is going at the end of the day. That's true. Now, obviously you're graduating this year, 2024. You're done. 2019, you started. It's been 5 years. 5 years, a lot can happen in 5 years. But from those 5 years, how is sort of your perspective on the way you view life changed? And I ask that in reference to you have worked co-ops these 5 years. You have studied. You have traveled back and forth. So obviously that has built a certain level of character as Lowenna. Now the Lowenna we see now is obviously 10 times different from the Lowenna we saw in 2019.
Yeah.
But how has this sort of changed your perspective on life, being alone, living your life, leading your life?
I don't think I've ever really been alone, which thank God, because there's nothing that I could have done in this country. But I would have figured it out. But the challenges were made a little more easier. The successes were made happier to celebrate because I had people to help me through it. My perspective has shifted in a couple of ways, and I don't know that I can narrow them down to one or two or three things. But I think I value people and community a lot more, because in Uganda, community is kind of just there. It's taken for granted in a way that, like, you have your extended family, you have your grandma that maybe lives a couple minutes away from you, you have 15 aunties, you have 10 uncles, you have 30 cousins, you have a really big extension of people and of family members that care about you. You have friends that you grew up with since you were children, and people who have seen you grow and change. So sometimes it's easy to take that for granted, because if you've grown up there, that's what you know. And then when you come here, that is completely different. It's a strong individualist culture where people are kind of like out for themselves, or, you know, looking out for themselves in that way. And not that people aren't kind, because the people here are very kind, they're very welcoming, they're very nice. But like, sometimes there's more to culture than just that. Like, there's just the systems, how things progress, how life is when you just arrive. You can really see the difference in terms of like how collectivist countries like Uganda are versus how individualist countries like Canada can be. So that change has taught me to value people a lot more and to seek out connections a lot more actively, because again, without community, without connections, I would not be here today. Or maybe I would have, but just it would just have been so much harder than it was. And it still was, but it was made easier by that. And I guess another thing is my urge, or my need to give back has grown exponentially because of just the differences I've experienced from being raised in one place than coming here. That's
interesting.
Yeah, feeling like it's more important now more than ever to do things that can uplift people back home, that can give back, that can educate, all those things that would bring us to the next level. Because what good is it to be like the only person from your family who's successful? What good is it to be, you know, the only person that is on the mountaintop by yourself, if everybody else that you want or that you love or that you want to be up there with you can't be up there with you? So yeah.
And this is a different one, but how has your community sort of influenced or informed the fact that now you want to give a lot more? Or is it something that you've just naturally become accustomed to because of how you see the two different worlds?
Maybe it's a bit of both, because maybe what I've learned here or what I've seen here has made me appreciate that community more. And then in order to like show my appreciation and my care and my love, I feel like I have to do more, if that makes sense. So it's kind of both.
It's a mix of the two. Oh, that's interesting. And have you found that by giving back, it fills you? So obviously now take it away from community. How does Lowenna feel when she gives back?
It just feels it just feels like I don't know how to explain it, but the best way is I love tea. I love tea.
Okay.
Yeah, I love tea. Just so you know, I love tea.
Yeah, I think that's a Uganda thing. I love tea as well.
Tea is great. But yeah, I love tea. And the best way I can put it is, imagine you've had a really long day, you're tired. Tea is one of the things at home that I used to do to unwind, and I still do it here. And you've had your really long day, you're exhausted, and then you make your cup of tea, and then you just sit down in your warm blanket, and then you drink the first sip. You know how like the warmth that just spreads after that's how it feels to give back. Yeah.
That's interesting. I want to pivot a little bit and go into the fact that you said community here in Waterloo has obviously impacted your life in so many different ways, because now being part of the community, you've learned a lot more. Now, one of the biggest things that I saw you accomplish, and I was there actively watching you go through the ropes, was Traces 2023. And we're going to talk about that a little bit, because I think seeing you do that, I think built your character, built your resilience actually a lot more than some of the other things. And obviously now that helped you build a community, because now your network expanded a lot more, obviously with friends, but also with people that helped finance the event and see that it was a success. I think it will forever be one of your greatest moments here at the University of Waterloo. But for you, how did that experience sort of change or help change the way we see Lowenna today?
So the African Students Association at University of Waterloo puts on an annual showcase called Traces. And Traces stands for the Real African Cultural Experiences / Exhibition Showcase. Like it can be, the E can be one or the other. And basically it's a culmination of performing arts that is designed to promote African and Black culture and celebrate it through music, through dance, through plays, through there's modeling, fashion shows. So there's all these different acts, and it's just a culmination of those acts. And the audience comes from mostly the KW region, but also surrounding areas. There's people who even travel from like Vaughan, Toronto, to come here and watch. So yeah, it's been, I think it's like between 12th to like 15th year, if I'm not mistaken. So I auditioned for Traces 2022, but I had auditioned the previous semester. So I wasn't sure that I wasn't sure that I was going to get in. And I think at the time they also weren't sure if the show was going to happen because of COVID and all those things, and there were still restrictions going on. So between the time I auditioned and the time they got back to me, I was like, okay, this has been a really long time. Maybe maybe they didn't give it to me, or maybe the show's not happening. I don't know. But then they eventually reached out, and then they were like, yeah, you're in. So I was like, okay, awesome. So by that point, when they reached out, I had released Somebody to Love, which was my first single, and they wanted me to perform that, obviously, because it was my first original. So I went, performed it. It was super, super fun. I had a great time. I also ended up doing a bit of acting because they needed some extras, so I volunteered. I ended up also being a stagehand, so like I ended up doing a lot of things that were really cool. And so after that, I didn't intend to be like an exec. So execs are the people that actually run the club. I didn't intend to be an exec, but somebody who was volunteering for Traces 2022, who was planning on running for one of the higher like vice president roles, kind of encouraged me and was like, no, you should apply for Traces director. And the deadline even passed. And she was like, no, I will contact the president and she will open the form for you for one more day. Just do it. So I did it. And I think it was me and maybe one or two other people that ran, and I got elected. And that was the beginning of that. And at the time, I really didn't know too many African students on campus outside of you and maybe a few others. So even the exec team that was elected, I was meeting a lot of them for the first time. And today they ended up being some of my closest friends here. But that's kind of how I started it. And fast forward, Traces was a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication. and it's fully student run. We apply for grants from maybe the government or outside organizations. We also applied to the university for funding too, and hopefully get some funding from sponsors as well, in the form of materials, or could just be monetary sponsorship. But fully student run. So all like students are in charge of doing all of that. So there is no point where like, anything is being run by anybody else. So it was challenging to say the least, because you're juggling that and school and work if you're working as well. So it was tough, but it was really, really rewarding in the sense that I felt like I gave it my best. I made a lot of connections. The show ended up being really, really great, and the turnout was amazing. Was one of the biggest turnouts we've ever seen. And I think it was one of the turning points in my university experience, because I made more friends from that than I could have ever hoped for. So even the starting from scratch didn't feel like it was so hard after that. And it was just a really amazing experience to be able to put on, like, to have a vision in your mind and then it come to life, in front of a big audience and have it be appreciated. And I think that's the best way I can put it.
Obviously, what values did that leadership, because obviously you did lead a team to execute Traces 2023.
Yeah.
But what values did leading that team bring to you, or what did you see change in the way you began to lead people?
I think communication is cheesy and everybody says it, and it's but very literally my communication skills improved. I had always been into leadership things from when I was a kid, but I had never done something quite like this. So just learning how to communicate with people and to lead them in a way that makes them want to contribute to the vision or contribute to the team is a challenge, and it's something that you have to learn, because it's easy to just buck orders at people and say you need to do this, you need to do that, but people's hearts are not in it if you do that, and if you treat them in a way that shows that you don't value them or their opinions or what they have to offer. So just trying to be somebody that they could turn to if they were struggling, trying to be somebody that that they could see a friend in, and not just like scary boss, So that was something that I learned a lot about. And also just learning how to say no, because I think growing up I've had my people pleaser days. I have. And maybe this is not something that came specifically from Traces. It's probably like a culmination of things, but it taught me how to set boundaries, how to communicate when I'm not happy about something, when I'm upset, or when I'm angry about something, but in a way that is like productive and constructive. So it improved my communication skills in that sense. And it just also helped me feel like it was okay to set boundaries and to have your limits with certain people, because that sometimes is something that's hard to master.
That's true.
I think those are the main ways.
And obviously, communication and communication studies, there's a link.
There's a link. There's a link.
I think, obviously, because I've seen your journey from back then, obviously after we met in 2022, but I think that being part of Traces 2023 sort of was something that I think you were meant to be a part of. Here's why. I don't know if you remember, there's a time you told me about you performing at Pearl of Africa's showcase. I don't remember the exact year you did it, but you're going to tell us.
Okay.
Now, obviously, you're a musician, you're an artist, and being part of Pearl of Africa, obviously now there you were performing, but Traces, obviously you're putting the showcase for people to come and perform. Obviously, two different ways of presenting it, but it's the same thing at the end of the day. Now, Pearl of Africa, how was that like in terms of the experience it gave you, the exposure it gave Lowenna as an artist, and what lessons did that whole experience of being in a competition with different people give you?
Yeah, Pearl of Africa was a time. It was a time. And yeah, so for those that don't know what it is, I can just give a brief explanation. So Pearl of Africa, it's called in full, it's Pearl of Africa Star Search, but we like abbreviate POA Star Search or just POA Star.
Also, Uganda is the Pearl of Africa. Just
yes,
saying.
yes. So the Pearl of Africa is Uganda's nickname. So that's kind of where the name originated from. But basically, this was it was a competition, and it was designed to find. It was a national competition. It was designed to find like a youth tourism ambassador who would help promote tourism in Uganda through music and through performing arts, right? So the goal was for the winner at the end of the competition to become the tourism ambassador.
Wow.
So that was the gist of it. And so how it worked is they sourced people to audition from all over the country, and they got probably over like 2,000 people who auditioned. And I did not intend to audition at all because I didn't really know about it. As I wasn't at home when they were advertising it on TV because I was here on co-op. So I went back home around the time that they were asking for auditions from people. And it's my mom who actually sent it to me just in passing. She sent me like a WhatsApp photo and I was like, oh, yeah, I saw this billboard while I was driving. You want to audition? And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. And then I found out more information about it and I saw how like large scale it was. So I was like, okay, I will just audition, but I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go. So I just put in an audition, probably like the last day. And then they got back to me, said that I was selected. So after that, the process was you go on to a live in-person audition where you audition in front of the judges. And I think they also ask you a couple of questions about what you know about tourism. Because remember, it's to become a tourism ambassador. Mm-hmm. And of course, the other prize at the end was like, I think it was like, I don't know if it was 60 or 600 million. I don't know. But it was yeah. It was a lot of money.
Wow. Okay.
And of course, some record deals and, you know. So, yeah. Made it to the next round, auditioned in front of the judges, met a lot of cool people, and then from there advanced to the next round. So they were doing kind of like teams in regions. So if you're from Central region, you would be in this team. Mm-hmm. You're from Western region, you're from Northern, you're from Eastern. Mm-hmm. Then they picked 5 people from each region. Oh. After advancing on to the next stage. So I was one of the 5 from the Western region. Oh. So that's where like the heat actually started, because it was the other stuff was not too crazy, but the heat actually started there. And there was a lot of voting. So there was like the fan favorite would sometimes get an automatic pass to the next round or things like that, or you would get perks for being the fan favorite of that week or that round. Exactly. So yeah, basically through that, there was a lot of challenges. So we had to brush up a lot on our tourism. We traveled all different parts of Uganda to see different attractions, to learn about them. And then we were tested on that knowledge. We were tested on like what we would do as youth ambassadors to improve the tourism state in Uganda. And then obviously we were tested on our musical abilities. How well can you sing this song? How well can you perform in a duet? How well can you improvise? How well can you do this? So there's all sorts of challenges. And so the top 20 being the 5 from each region, the top 20 was where I learned a lot from the people that were also in the competition as well. We had an array of people from different backgrounds and of different ages. And me and I think 2 other girls were the youngest people there, because I was 19 at the time. So everybody else was older than us. So it was really cool to hear from people who have done music, but from in a different stage of their lives, what they've learned and kind of why they came to the competition, what they hope to achieve out of it. It was very tiring, very grueling, because it was long hours. It was, you were up and down. And I was also studying at the time, I forgot to mention. So I was doing online school at the time, which is why I went home because classes were online. So I went back to Uganda to do my classes online so I could see my family. And then I ended up doing the competition while studying online, doing 5 courses. I did not sleep. But yeah, so I somehow, by God's grace, made it to the semifinals. And and the competition was televised. It was all over
Was this
YouTube.
semifinals for the Western region or semifinals
No,
for the whole?
semifinals for the whole
Wow,
thing. Yeah,
okay.
for the whole thing. I almost made it to the end, almost. So, and then that's where I got eliminated. But from that, I learned so much. I learned, especially in relation to music, I learned that in terms of performance, because I had never been performing a lot before this. So it was kind of going from performing on a much smaller stage in high school, or maybe just for your family at family gatherings, to being thrown on TV in front of 4 million people.
Had you released the first single?
No, this because the competition was 2021, and then Somebody to Love was February 2022.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's actually how I got connected with the producer that helped me with Somebody to Love. Yeah, so I would have never met him if it was not for that. But in relation to performing, I hadn't been performing much up until Pearl of Africa, or I had been, but not really, and I was
At
shy.
that level, yeah.
Not nowhere near that level. I was really shy. I called myself a bathroom singer, because really that my bathroom walls are all that would hear me sing. And I learned that the nerves, or that just that feeling of wanting to do well on stage, of how to perform, and just stage presence, all those things, and the nerves, they don't ever go away. You just learn to control them, and you learn to perform with them. Because the whole lie of just picture everybody in the audience naked and you'll be fine, or just do all these things, it is not true. The nerves do not go away. And there's times where I'll go on stage and I'm not nervous at all, but there's most of the things that I do, I will be nervous. But people like to tell you that they just go away as you do it. No, you just learn to control them better. And as you go, you learn that the worst thing that could happen to you on stage is not the worst thing that will happen to you in life. You will not die from making a mistake on stage. And that's where the nerves and the fear comes from. So just practicing and continuing to learn how to control your nerves is something that I thought some people have it naturally and I just don't have it. But from that experience, I was like, okay, if this is my first time doing this, and I didn't suck, because if I sucked, I would not have reached the semifinals. But I could be a lot better. So it pushed me to put myself out there more. It pushed me to start writing my own music. It pushed me to really lean into the music thing, because I had shied away from it for so long. And yeah, that was just what my biggest propeller to actually start on my music journey. And it's an experience I will forever be grateful for, because I made a lot of great friends. And it taught me a lot. I got a lot of exposure in terms of just me, because at the time I didn't have any music, so people just gravitated towards me as a person, and I was like, okay, maybe it could work. And then that's how it started.
Did they tell you why you didn't make the finals? Okay,
so what we did was they put us into pairs, I think. No, this was the part before. They put us into pairs before that, and then we did a challenge, and then from that there was 2 people that were eliminated from there. Right, so the top 8 is where I would have where I reached, and then the top 6 is where you would have gotten to the finals, right? So the challenge was basically you pick a song, or they pick a song for you rather, from a Ugandan legend, or just a really old OG song that is really popular. You pick a song and then you make it your own and you perform it. So I was very, 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 very nervous when I performed mine. And in hindsight, maybe the song that I got was also pretty challenging, and I wasn't too open to changing it or adjusting it to make it my own, which is something that I think I should have done, because I'm structured. I like to do things as they are. So it was hard for me to come to kind of think outside the box and do something that was different with it. Yeah. So my nerves got the better of me that day. Okay. And just everybody performed really, really well. The competition was top. At that point, it was really a challenge. So just the better people got in, and hey, I'm okay with that.
Congratulations to them. And obviously, that's the first time you at that level. Yeah, we've established that. Did not making it to the finals sort of give you motivation? Did that? Because obviously, there's at times rejection gives people motivation in different ways. But now this is them saying, or this is the better people getting to the next level. Did you think, or did that experience then change the way, the hunger that you had towards music, and then leading to you releasing your first single?
I don't want to say that it was the rejection per se, because I knew it myself. Like, I knew that I did, like, even after I did it, like, I knew I was the one going to be eliminated, because I could see the caliber of performance around me. But I also second guessed myself a lot before going on stage, so that obviously played in my psyche. And yeah, but I wouldn't say that it was the rejection per se. I think it was more of what I learned from my experience performing, not just at that semifinals performance, but just everything that I had learned before that. Because where my doubts in terms of music came from was, like, one, do I even sound good when I sing? Do people like when I sing? And if they do, if I wrote my own stuff, would they like what I have to say in my music? Would they resonate with it? Would they enjoy it? Would they play it? So for me, it wasn't even the rejection that got me, because I felt it within myself that I wasn't going to advance after that point. So it's not like I did my best and I was so good and then they rejected me, so I'm like, oh my God, I'm not good enough. But it's just that I felt in that moment that I could have been a lot better. So I was not surprised by any means, or like taken aback by me being eliminated. It was more a clarifying moment where I just realized that, like, every person that made it through over me has been doing this for a really long time. They have practiced, they have gained the confidence, they've gained the stage presence, all things that I have no experience doing, right? So they're just better at their craft. At that moment, they were better at their craft than I was, and I was very accepting of that and very aware of that, because again, bathroom to 4 million, how
it's
yes. Yeah. So the fact that I was able to even get there with little to no experience, but for me it was just a clarifying moment to be like, okay, it's not by some miracle that you can become good at something. It takes work and it takes practice. And I had to acknowledge that it's work and practice that I had not been doing, that I had not opened myself up to do. So it was more like, okay, if you ever even want to get close, you have to start somewhere. Yeah.
And did you think, obviously in that moment, did you realize, or did you have this realization that I'm actually good at this and I'm actually going to continue with this and, create it into what it is now?
I think absolutely, because I again, like, I could not have predicted how that went. Like, how it went was beyond my wildest dreams and expectations, because again, all these doubts, all this second guessing, wasn't sure if I had a good voice. I mean, I think on some level I knew I had a good voice, but I was like, okay, there's so many other people that have good voices, so what about it? What makes you special? So I think that was the first time where, especially because I ended up being the fan favorite every single time except like once. There was once where like somebody else beat me out, but I was the fan favorite every single time, and I was like, okay, there is no way this many people would be rooting for you if you were terrible at this, right?
That's true.
And if this many people believe in you, then why don't you believe in yourself the same way? So for me, that was my turning point of like, okay, if people believe in me like this, and I've not even scratched the surface of my full potential, then what am I doing? Like, it's time for you to actually get up and do something about it. So yeah.
And fast forward 3 years, because I was 2021, now we're in 2024.
Yeah.
You have released 3 songs.
Yes.
The most recent one that I listened to, Relief. Great song.
Thank you.
Are you at that stage where you're now releasing songs and then you're looking at the numbers? Is it up there? Is it down there? Or is it still experiment? We're still experimenting. We're still getting to understand this space a little bit more.
I think it's a bit of both, naturally, just because you want to know if people like what you're putting out. But for me, it's definitely still experimentation, because again, I know that I've been in school and work for the past 5 years, I know that I haven't had as much time to put a full concerted effort behind it. And also because music takes investment, like it's an actual investment. So as much as you're working, you have bills to pay, you have your school fees to pay, you have all these things to do. So as much as you might want to put a large investment behind your music, sometimes you're just not able to, especially in the student life. So I think I'm at the point where now that I'm about to graduate, I'm excited to be able to put my full force of effort behind it and just kind of see where it goes. At the moment, like I'll put out something and I look at the numbers just to see if people like it, but there's no way I'm expecting to top any charts or to do like, no. I mean, if that
is
no, absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely what I want, and that's what I would be striving for. But like it's not that I'm striving to put something out there that will like top the charts because oh my god, like I top the charts, but I want something that people like so much that it ends up there. Like, does that make sense? So that the where the end is not a chart topping song just for the sake of it topping the charts, but just because there's people have an organic reaction to it and they really like it and they like you as an artist, as a person. So I feel like that matters to me more than anything else. And right now, just what I have out there is songs that are about my personal experiences, songs that I enjoy, and yeah, if they get there, they get there. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. We're gonna put the link tree to Lowenna's songs in the description, so you guys should go check it out. It's great music. I've listened to it personally. I think you guys would definitely enjoy it. You did mention something. You said that the music that you put out there, if it makes it up there, well and good. But you're doing it sort of to showcase the talent that you have, and if people resonate with you, then that would be great. But do you believe that music, there's a metaphor that music moves? Do you believe in that metaphor?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, when you as Lowenna make music, do you think about how you're going to impact people, or is it more of this is my story and this is how I'm going to share my story, or is it a mix of the two?
I think it's always a mix, because I wouldn't say that I've ever put something out where like, oh, it's just solely for me and I don't really care about how it will be received, because again, the goal is to move people with what I do put out. So I always consider how it will resonate with people, how it will make people feel, but at the same time, all my music, or at least my singles, have been rooted in my own personal experience. And I know that as much as sometimes when you're going through stuff, you think that it's just you going through it alone. I always know that other people are going or might be going through the same things that I'm going through when I may be writing the song, or whatever vision I have or emotions that I have when I am writing the song. People are also going through those. So I just feel like whatever I'm able to articulate and how well I'm able to articulate it will matter when it comes to like resonating with other people who are going through that same thing, or maybe not even the same thing, but they're just at a low point in their lives where they just need somebody to hear that they're, just to hear their experiences and just to hear them where they are. So yeah.
I like that answer. Obviously, it gives a bit of both and shows that obviously you're personalizing the music, but also you're looking at how it's obviously going to impact the people at the end of the day. Recently, I stumbled upon something that was very interesting. It was sort of the link between music and obviously the science behind how music makes people feel, changes
like what
people.
It does to your brain.
Like what it does to your brain. Obviously, there's obviously the Darwin theory of how music has an effect on your emotions and then helps survive. But we're not going to go into that. That's a whole thing on its own. But what I wanted to talk about was the link between music, and mental health. Why I want to talk about that is because obviously what music does to the brain is simple. I'm going to just do a small description of what happens. When we hear songs, now our brainstem, what that does is basically it responds to the sound, whether it's a loud sound or a simple soft sound. Now after the brainstem responds to that, the next level is the basal ganglia. Now what that does is it responds to the pleasure. Does this feel good? Do I like it? After you have heard the sound, now it's about, do I like it? Then after that is the amygdala. Now the amygdala is now where the emotions happen. I like it. That makes me feel sad, or it makes me feel happy. I have this joy when I listen to the song. And then obviously the last phase is the neocortex, where basically now it's you're understanding the music, you're creating the patterns. Now, we know what music does for us. When you listen to music, it lowers your cortisol levels and that helps with stress. But for you, when you're listening to music or when you're creating music, do you find that it helps with your mental health? Say you're in a bad place and say, okay, I'm going to put on this song, or I'm going to go into the studio, make this music, and then sort of changes the way. Because personally, I've felt that. Have you felt that as well? And do you, going back to the other question, do you still feel like it, depending on the different genre, it helps people as well?
Yeah, I agree. Okay, for me, my go-to when I need like a pick-me-up is definitely to just listen to a song that makes me feel whatever emotion I'm feeling, or maybe the opposite of what. So like if I'm sad and I need to pick me up, maybe I'll listen to a happy song. But I'm definitely the kind of person that if I'm sad, I'll listen to a sad song because that's just what I'm feeling at the moment. I'm not in the mood to be told to be happy if I don't want to be happy yet. But so for me, like even in my past, I recall every single song that I have listened to like on repeat when I'm going through something really bad. And I can pinpoint and be like, this is the song that I listened to on repeat that helped me get through it. And obviously there's a lot of people that need a lot more than just like a good song to put, to pick them up out of whatever mental health state they might be in. Like you might need therapy, you might need to talk to someone, you might need a lot. But I 100% believe that music helps. And for me, because again, in Uganda, mental health resources at the time while we were growing up were pretty much non-existent.
Yeah, myth, yeah.
Mental health is a myth. Exactly. People believe that it's a myth. So even if you were going through really difficult times, and we for all we know, we could have gone through points of like maybe depression and you just don't know that that's what it is because there was no way to diagnose it. There was nobody to tell. So for me, that was my go-to. I was like, okay, this is the song that I will listen to on repeat and repeat, and I can point to every single song. So if my song can be that song for somebody else, then I've succeeded. That's it. That's all I want.
Especially something like Relief. That is definitely a song that if you're going through something, we're not going to talk about what that something could be, but if you're going through something, it's definitely a song that that I like the fact that you mentioned. For you, it is not an escape. You want to be in that moment, be in those moments, and you know the songs.
Yeah.
You mentioned the fact that obviously with the different songs and how those songs have helped you in specific moments. And obviously it's different for people. Some people, when they're going through something, they want to escape from that feeling. So they're listening to a song that's completely the opposite. But I want us to get into something that's relatively interesting. I've not done this before, but because you're an artist, you're a musician, I think it's only right that you tell us what are your top 3 artists of all time?
Hey, all time is hard because I like so many.
We could narrow it down. Okay, what are your top 3 of?
Okay, maybe my top 3 of right now.
Okay, right now.
Yeah, can be my top 3 of like of like maybe my year so far. We could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, or maybe not even my year so far, but just my top 3 that I can think of. I love Sauti Sol. I know they're on a break, but I really love Sauti Sol's music.
Kenya. Beautiful.
Shout out to Kenya. Yes.
Melanin, that was a great song.
That's a great song. It's a great song. Suriako.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. And then Benson. He's an Afrobeats artist. I think his former like moniker was Buju, but changed it to Benson. I believe he's Nigerian. And then Adele. Yes.
Like you.
And then P Square. P Square, the OGs. P Square was like the soundtrack to my childhood. P Square was it.
Back then, everyone was listening to P Square.
P Square is just.
What did they have? They had.
You're thinking of the songs?
I'm thinking of the songs.
Game Over, Busybody. There's many, please. Alingo is even a newer one, but that's a newer one. Beautiful. Yeah. What's the other one? There's another one.
Onine.
Yes, beautiful. No, but that's beautiful.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I know it has.
There's another one, but yeah. It's just.
And then what are your top 3 songs right now?
Top 3 songs. Ole is a song by Benson and King Madi. I think I wrote a couple down. Let me see. Sinzia by Nameless. He's a Kenyan artist. It's another OG song, but I've always loved that song since I was a kid. I feel like he made that one banger and then disappeared, but ever since then. And then Troublemaker by Rema from his new EP, and I wrote one more. This one I don't know if many people know, but it's called Urambona by Judah Earl and Odetta. You probably won't know, but it's a really nice song. It's a beautiful song. Yeah,
that's a beautiful song.
Yeah.
My 3,
yes,
not right.
Yes.
I'm not going to give you the songs because the songs are always fluctuating.
Okay.
But artists that I could listen to on a daily: Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
That's top for me.
Okay.
J. Cole.
Figured.
Close to.
I figured.
And then the third one is Tupac. Now, this is just the guys that I've been actively listening to for a while. Okay. It's easy for me to listen to their music every day, regardless of whatever I'm going through. Yeah, but yeah, I think that's good. And
nice.
In your opinion, who do you think has had as a generational impact in music? Maybe we could do 10 years, so that's 2010, 2020. Then you could do 2000, 2010.
Interesting.
But obviously, that time you're still growing up, and obviously,
yeah. I mean, okay. What I know might be a little off, especially like if we're talking like more North American music. But for if we're talking about in a Ugandan context,
we could talk about Ugandan context, and then in a world like
I would say Radio and Weasel. Radio and Weasel, I feel like have had a massive impact on music in Uganda. Maybe Blue 3, they were my personal favorites. I loved Blue 3 growing up. So I feel like, they've... And also Eddie Kenzo. I'm trying to think of any more. Yeah, but if we're talking about like from like OG generational impact, I would say Radio and Weasel, or at least the people that I've grown up on, because I know there's more.
Definitely.
There's a lot more. I'm also thinking Kenneth Mugabe, but yeah. And then in the world, okay, like I listen to a lot of different music, but I don't know if my I don't want to say that what I would say is like the stamp of truth, but I was thinking about Afrobeats and how there's always been these debates about how like Davido and Wizkid are the ones that have Burna Boy are the ones that have like, really put Afrobeats on the map. And I think in some regards that's true, but I feel like there's the people behind them like Timaya, Tiwa Savage that had been doing it for a while that are not as acknowledged, or they're not
celebrated.
Yeah, they're not as celebrated, or they're not seen as the people who like laid the groundwork for the next generation of artists to then come up. But I feel like now the Davidos, obviously the Wizkids, the Burna Boys are pushing it to a whole new level.
True.
So yeah.
Before we go into the next section, I just want to clarify this in your opinion.
Yeah.
Between the two, Afrobeats or Amapiano, which one do you think?
I would like 100% pick Afrobeats, but not because I don't like Amapiano. I do like Amapiano. But I feel like I'm more able to consistently listen to Afrobeats. Amapiano is more like if I'm out or if it's a party, it's like But I wouldn't. Or maybe like when you go to the gym or something, because some Amapiano music is it's like super upbeat and very uplifting. So hey, but yeah, what I'm able to listen to more consistently, just day in day out, when I'm doing homework, when I'm walking to school, when I'm doing whatever, definitely Afrobeats.
Afrobeats.
Yeah.
And now bringing it back, because what I like that we have done is we have spoken about Lowenna in school, the community aspect, but then we transcended a little bit into Lowenna in music, because I think that's your passion, and everyone has their talent, passion that they really, outside of the 9 to 5 or the school aspect of life, we always have that escape too. What is the future of work for Lowenna? Do you feel like you're going to find a link between music and what you're studying, communication studies and business, or do you want to run away with music right after? What would you envision your career path being?
I feel like 100% in my wildest dreams, music is what I would do full time forever. I would just wake up in the morning, just do that's what I would do. But obviously, it's gonna take a long time to get there, and maybe it might not take that long, but it's gonna take a lot of hard work. It's gonna take time, effort. So And I'm very aware of that. And as I said before, because I haven't had as much time on my hands to put a full concerted effort behind it, I'm at a place where I'm not fully happy with where I'm at with it, but I know that I can get there now that I have more time and now that I have more resources. So I definitely want to focus a lot on music, but in order to do that, I have to keep my 9 to 5. I have to, still keep doing what I need to do to just survive and thrive here. And I'm just hoping to kind of walk on those two roads together. And if they cross paths, that would be excellent because that's the dream. But for now, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, push more, put more effort, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. But on that note of obviously doing the two because one needs to support the other, I think you've seen this, and obviously, which I would like your advice on this. Sometimes people give up one thing, maybe it's the security, to say, you know what, I need this thing to work for me, and I'm gonna put in my all to get into it.
Yeah.
For you, is it a fear of the music thing not working that you don't want to get out of your strict 9 to 5 that supporting you financially, or do you think that culturally, because obviously there is that as well, I know in the back of your mind from the different discussions we've had, what do you think it really is that's stopping you from saying, you know what, let me just do the music and get out there, because at the end of the day you'll never know until you try.
True. I think it's like the need to also be realistic, because sometimes, like, as much as you really, really, really want something, life is such that sometimes it just will not work out. Like that's the painful truth, and it happens to a lot of people. And there's times where, like, there's people who even achieve their dreams, but like if you're say a pro athlete, you achieve your dream, you get to exactly where you want to get, and then you get injured, and that ends your career there right then and then. So then what do you do, kind of thing. So for me, it's not fear that I won't get where I want to be with it, but I mean, and there's always going to be some sort of fear associated with that, because like you're competing in a world where everybody has a talent, where somebody might even have the exact same talent as you, and you're competing for the exact same thing. But I don't even see it as competition per se, because there's enough room for success for everybody. There is enough room. But I'm just like, I want to be honest and realistic with myself, where it's like I'll never say that I can never say that I didn't try to at least have something going for me outside of that, because anything can happen on the music side. Anything can happen there.
But anything can also happen in this side as well.
Exactly. I just think, like, because right now, if there's not a lot of opportunities, say, that present themselves for like gigs or like paid things like that, because I'm doing a lot of things related to music right now, just in my day-to-day, say, that might not even be paid, that might not be like, actually monetarily rewarded. So it's not even that like I'm not doing anything about it, or I'm not, it's more that I'm doing stuff, but sometimes people don't see music as a talent that is deserving of like compensation until you've reached a certain level. But people forget that you have to have built a repertoire, you have to build a catalog to get to that level, and a reputation. So right now, a lot of people still take it for granted, where it's like, okay, you can come and sing, but we won't be able to do this. You can come and sing, but we won't be able to do this. You can come and... So like, if you have like 5,000 or 500 of those, and at the end of the day, you still have to pay your bills. At the end of the day, you still have to eat. You still have to do all these things. Then like, what will you do, kind of thing? So I just feel like the best option for me is, because I know that I've put in so much time and investment into my education, into all these things that I've been doing outside of music, that also are part of who I am. So why not nurture those things too? So that if, God forbid, music doesn't work out, I have something that I can do that I would also be passionate about, rather than putting all my eggs in one basket. And hey, that basket might not break. It might not. And God willing, it won't. But what if it does? That kind of thing,
That's true.
So, yeah.
That's interesting. I always get into arguments, fights with people, because I'm completely different in regards to the fact that obviously I understand that you need to be realistic, have some realism.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I dream a lot more.
I get it.
Then I look at the reality of things.
That's fair.
And I think for me, it's like this thing can actually happen if we just tried our best and put in everything. But I mean, at the end of the day, everyone's different. You know, I used to have these arguments with my mom and tell her, hey, but this can happen. It's like, man, be realistic. And then it happens. And she's like, oh.
No, and I feel like there's room for both. Because what I also this is something I reject is like the rhetoric of that you have to be one or the other. Because I feel like the world we live in right now, to be absolutely realistic with you, there's very few people that will like drop everything and say like, okay, this is the path that I'm going to go down. And obviously like the hunger to be that, because you have no backup plan, you have no safety net, is what will drive you to get here and to get there. But I feel like if you have this platform, if your parents have blessed you being able to send you to Canada for an education that have, like, why not also build on those things so that you have a foundation for all these things that you want to be, all these passions that you want to pursue.
True.
And I feel like you can be just as hungry. Like, I feel like the all or nothing like mentality is also flawed, because you can be just as hungry for your passion, for your dream, for what you want, and still get your degree and still go to class.
True.
And still, because what would then happen if we're international students, both of us, your parents are paying all these fees, and then you come, all you want to do is the young eye, for example, and you're not going to class, you don't get your degree, and then you're now ruled out of so many opportunities simply because you don't have this arbitrary diploma that is an indication of your status, of your level. So it's like, as much as you want to pursue that thing, 100% pursue it with everything that you have. But it's also about being cognizant of the world and the society that we live in.
True.
Because we are judged by arbitrary standards. We are kind of made to kind of pursue these things just to level the playing field. Because if everybody didn't have a degree, then there would still be something else that we would need to discriminate people or to serve as a measure to pick somebody else over the other, right? So I feel like it's just important to be cognizant of that, so that you kind of just don't get lost in chasing something.
True.
And it's important to chase that thing, but with the metric in mind that, hey, we're still, this is still the society that it's not in a vacuum where like you're chasing your dream in a vacuum and then everything else is happening outside of that. It's a matter of being grounded in both, where you can be like, look, I'm still doing this. Yeah. And I feel like it even takes more to try to be doing both of those things at the same time. Because if you're laser focused one way, but you also have to maintain this other thing that takes more work, takes more dedication, takes more time. So yeah, it's both of them are hard, but I feel like it's worth it to still have. And
finding that link between the two is also an interesting thing to look at. Obviously, it's a discussion that many people have different opinions on and different thoughts on. For me, I am going to finish mine, don't worry.
Yes, finish a degree. Darren, please, you have 1 year.
Yours is done. Me, that, because I obviously, what is interesting as well is finding a way that the paths can cross.
Exactly.
I'm starting to see that obviously with what I'm doing at university, but also with the young guy and where it's going. And once it does intersect, that can only happen after. So obviously you have to finish.
And they do intersect. Like there's no parts of your life that don't touch each other in some way, right? So like also thinking that they're completely separate is a flaw of thinking, in the sense that they can never be divorced. Like you can't divorce your education brain from because they inform each other, that kind of thing.
True.
Yeah.
As we wrap up, obviously I feel like you're starting to get a lot more into the discussion. It's unfortunate that it's towards the end.
That's okay.
But I like asking my guests this question, because obviously I believe that there have been people behind us that have pushed us to where we are, that have guided us, that have mentored us. And for you, throughout this conversation, I've heard that you've spoken a lot highly about your mother, your father. And sort of as a parting question, the last question that I'd like to ask is how or what role, in terms of obviously your parents, but what role as individuals have they played in guiding you and mentoring you into the Lowenna you are today, but also into the Lowenna that you're going to become in the future?
I think they've obviously they're two people amongst like a team of people that I've had in my life, but they're definitely some of the two most integral people because they've informed my values, my belief in myself, my work ethic, just how I frame and how I see the world. Because and without them, absolutely, I would be a puddle on the floor. There's nothing I would be without them because they've really molded and shaped me into a person that I'm proud of. And especially with like my dreams and just about anything that I've ever pursued, they've never ever made me feel like I can't do something. And that's just something that you need when you're growing up. Like you need to be believed in so that you can believe in yourself. And I feel like although it did take me a while to get there, I feel like their foundation was always there. I just needed to kind of unlock it. To see it for myself. So yeah, they're just everything. They've done everything. They are an inspiration. Their stories. If you could get them to sit where I'm sitting and tell you their stories, you would be mesmerized because they've done so much. But
kudos to them.
I know, right?
Yeah, kudos to them. And any last words that you'd like to share to our audience that are watching? Maybe it's a young girl that wants to pursue music, or someone that wants to come and study at the university here in Canada.
To whoever is out there that is maybe looking at me and saying, "Oh wow, like how did you get here?" Da, 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 da. I don't know if that's what you're saying, but if that's what you're thinking, I just want to let you know that I am here because of everybody that has believed in me and that has supported me and that has valued me and what I have to say and all the capabilities that I have. And without that, I would not be the person I am today. And so I just want to encourage you to cherish those people who are doing that for you right now. And to believe them when they tell you that you can do anything, because you really, really can. Because I can tell you for sure that I never dreamed of where I am now. And even though I feel like I still have a long way to go and a lot of things that I want to achieve, I'm very, very proud of where I am and who I am. So believe that everybody around you who is telling you all these good things about you and all that you can achieve is right, because they are right. And in however many years' time, you could also be sitting here today being interviewed by Darren and sharing your experience, because everything that you have to say is valid and we cannot wait to hear your story as well.
Wow, what a beautiful way to end the podcast. For those of you listening, thank you for listening, Lowenna, but thank you for coming and being a guest on the podcast. It's an honor. Second episode, we're moving strong.
We're gonna continue the conversation outside.
We have to continue the conversation as it continues to grow, develop. Lowenna and I do have a couple of things coming up, so please stay tuned. Hopefully you will be part of that as well. But to the people listening, thank you for listening. It would be great if you came over to YouTube to obviously see Lowenna, see me, see the set, see where we are having these conversations, and also comment, subscribe, obviously. But thank you all for watching. This is Darren, the host of the Young Guy International podcast, and we'll see you next week on the third episode. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.